test together. We are on question 1. Seems like a nice place to start. Which of the following examples best represents altruism? Remember, altruism is unselfish regard for the welfare of others. And don't be shy. Go ahead and type your answer in the chat. YHS Land, funnel it through Mr. McCannon. Brave man, Mr. Isaac. Everybody is doing fabulous. You guys are awesome humans. Right on. So the mass consensus is that A is the best response, which is true. Booker stops to help someone even though it puts him in danger. Totally shows the unselfish nature of his regard for another person. He's not doing it for any benefit to himself. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much. Let's keep up this good pace and this good work. Number 2. An individual bystander is most likely to help an injured person under which of the following circumstances? We talked about this with like the Kitty Genovese case. What makes it more likely that somebody is going to help? Oh, you guys are so quick. Look at that. Oh, dang. It's like bang, 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 bang. Awesome. When the bystander is the only person present. The larger the group, the more diffused the sense of responsibility to help becomes. If it's only me, Amy Terich there, Amy Terich is going to feel the full responsibility to help. If it's Amy Terich plus 300 other people, everyone else is going to assume everyone else did it or will do it. You guys are fabulous humans. Number 3. Andy and Noel have been happily married for 25 years. They have a warm and trusting affection for one another. Which of Sternberg's social psych concepts applies both intimacy and commitment to their relationship? Remember, Sternberg said there are 3 parts to full consummate love. Andy and Noel have the emotional intimacy and they have the commitment. They're lacking the passion right now, but relationships go through patterns where sometimes they don't have all 3. What's it called when you have those 2? Intimacy and compassion. I'm scrolling through. You guys are brilliant. That is called companionate love. Question number 4. In the experiments of Solomon Asch and many other conformity or groupthink theorists, the tendency of group members to conform was reduced by which of the following factors? I told you the best way, the single best way to break up groupthink is what? You guys are quick. So groupthink is the process by which none of us want to make waves in a group situation. So we choose to just pretend to agree with the group when maybe on the inside we do not. It often leads to not great decisions being made because nobody's really sharing their insights. The best way to break this up is E. Have one person who's designated as the devil's advocate. that is one person to dissent, meaning go against the group. Once one person breaks this seal, everyone else will start sharing their ideas too. You guys are doing a fabulous job playing my reindeer games. Keep it up. Ashley began her banking career as a teller, but she was very quickly promoted to an increasingly more responsible managerial positions. Despite the fact that she has very little experience to justify her promotions, she believes she has been successful because she is very talented. Which of the following attribution errors or explanations is Ashley using to justify her success? Remember, attribution theory is our assumptions about the stuff. She's assuming everything that's good is due to her own merits. Anything that she does that's bad, she'll blame on a situation. What's this called? Oh, yeah. Look at that. You guys are so freaking brave and awesome. I love it. You guys are right. This is called the self-serving bias. When it's ourselves that we're making assumptions about, that attribution assumption, we assume everything is good that's due to our own self. Anything that we've done that's bad is due to some situation. That's a self-serving bias. Excuse me. Number 6, a basic assumption underlying the definition of groupthink is that what? Remember, groupthink is when we're in a committee sort of situation. While on the inside, we might have differing ideas, we generally don't want to speak out against the group because we don't want to make waves. Which ties in with, you guys are awesome. Overall, the group members desire peace and like harmonious decisions more so than they want the best response. Oftentimes, groupthink leads to not the best responses. You guys are awesome. Number 7, the tendency to believe that another person's behavior is caused by their dispositional factors rather than the environmental factors is called what? Somebody cuts me off on traffic and I get this one little tiny bit of their behavior, I automatically assume or attribute that behavior to the fact that they are a horrible driver and a bad person. What do we call this major error? Disposition means their personality. So when I look at someone else's behavior, I make grand assumptions about their personality. Like we all look at Kanye West and we assume that little celebrity behavior we see in a person we don't really know is based on his disposition. Oh, his personality is this. Yep. Yup. This is known as the FAE, the fundamental attribution error. We do it to celebrities all the time. We see one little snippet of behavior and we assume all kinds of stuff about their personality or disposition. Fundamental attribution error. Well played. Number 8, which of the following behaviors is most closely associated with the foot in the door phenomenon? This was that compliance strategy that works really well to get people to do what you want. You guys are fast readers, bro. The best example of foot in the door is D. Sutton asks his father for $5. When his father agrees, Sutton asks him for $15 more. Foot in the door is a series of small requests leading to your overall goal. We saw it with the con man who was calling the McDonald's restaurants to strip search employees. It's a very slow process of small requests. Number 9, during a political debate, candidate A expresses detailed facts on important issues, while candidate B responds with the emotional appeals on the same issue. So candidate A is factual and to the point. Candidate B takes the sideways approach of superfluous stuff. Which method of persuasion is each candidate using? Right on, right on, right on. Candidate A is using central route because that's sharing pertinent, like important facts. Candidate B is using all that subconscious other stuff, like using pretty people to tell the facts, using emotional appeals, all that unconscious stuff that also just drives our decision making. You guys are doing extraordinarily well. Which of the following scenarios best represents conformity? Again, conformity is where we adjust our behaviors to fit the group. Yep. You guys are extraordinarily fast readers, too. This B is the best example. Beth becomes a vegetarian when she starts college because all of her new friends are vegetarian. Simple conformity. Number 11, which of the following situations best describes Sternberg's idea of complete consummate love? Remember, Sternberg's theory is of 3 parts at magic number 3. So which one of those has all 3 components of consummate love? Excuse me. Brilliant. Craig and Nevaeh share many intimate details about their lives. So we've got emotional intimacy. They're very attracted to each other. So we've got that physical passion. And they're celebrating this with a commitment ceremony, which obviously is a commitment angle. So those are all 3. You guys are brilliant. Muy brillante. Number 12. Danny often pushes Judy because he's learned he can do this and then steal her dessert. Which of the following best explains Danny's aggressive behavior? Remember, we talked 2 main types of aggression. One we use as a tool to get what we want, and the other is just kind of being a douchebag. You're just a jerk. Which one is this? The majority hath spoken. This is an example of instrumental aggression. So Danny has learned to use aggression as a tool or an instrument to get what he wants. That's instrumental aggression. Hostile aggression is being hurtful just to hurt. You're not even getting anything out of it except for to hurt somebody, their feelings or their physical body. Number 13, diffusion of responsibility has been used to explain which of the following findings in social psych? You guys do read quickly. With this one, C is the best response. Diffusion of responsibility ties in with the bystander effect. So with the bystander effect, we look to others to see how we should react in certain situations. When we're by ourselves, we assess things correctly. When we're with other people, there tends to be more ignorance involved with our choice making. A part of this is because there is a diffusion of who feels responsible to help. If it's just Amy Terich out there, she feels all the responsibility. Again, if it's Amy Terich in her entire 8th period class, we all kind of think somebody else is going to do it. That's the diffusion of responsibility. Number 14, an example of proximity affecting our interpersonal attraction is when so quick. So proximity means geographical nearness, right? It is the first strongest ingredient of interpersonal attraction. We had proximity, physical attraction, and then similarity. So Candace is fond of Jerome because she lives next door to him. Our proximity dictates how often I'm going to see somebody. So it helps with the mere exposure effect. The more I see Jerome, the more I'm going to like him. So proximity affects the mere exposure effect, which makes us like people. For these complex machines, we are kind of simple. Number 15, even though Eli prefers romantic comedies himself, he often goes to the action adventure movies just to fit in with his friends. Eli's behavior can be best explained by what? Where we conform to the group just because we want them to like or approve of us. Very good. Very, very good. This one is normative social influence. I think of it as just normal conformity. I conform because I want people to approve of me. The other one was informational social influence, and that's where we just readily agree with other people's interpretations of facts or reality. I call it like the retweet phenomenon, where I'm just going to agree with your facts and retweet it. I don't often do that, but I have found myself doing it too. Number 16, a teacher who doubts the competence of a new student will unwittingly criticize everything that new student does. If the new student then performs poorly in that class, which of the following is most likely to have occurred? This term is very similar to the Pygmalion and the classroom effect that we talked about in the mask you live in. What's it called? That by making a prediction of success, I actually make it come true. Just making the prediction makes that prediction come true. You label a kid as a problem child. Unconsciously, you start treating that kid like a problem child. Guess what? They start acting like a problem child. You label a kid as incapable in the classroom. You unconsciously start treating them as incapable in the classroom. That makes them not learn as much. This is a self-fulfilling prophecy. By making a prediction or placing a label on somebody, we actually make it come true. So you wake up in the morning, you're like, today's going to suck. Today didn't suck. It was our expectation of it sucking that made it suck. I just use the word suck a lot. Number 17. Which of the following is most useful in understanding an employer's interpretation or assumption of an employee's poor performance? So what is that theory called where we make assumptions about the world around us based on a little bit of information? What, buddy? Yeah, but it's going to be like an hour. You might want to ask your sister if you can't wait. You got it, my brothers and sisters. Attribution theory is a theory in which we make huge assumptions about a little tiny piece of information we see. So this employer might see an employee who doesn't work hard for their first couple days on the job and they assume they're lazy. They don't go in to find out that this kid is taking care of sick family members while working 2 part-time jobs and going to school. That's attribution theory. It's a theory of assumptions that we make based on little tiny bits of information. We judge books by their covers. Lisa is a college English major. She believes that all math majors are analytical, logical, and serious. Lisa seems to be demonstrating what? Hint, this is the opposite of the in-group bias. You guys are doing beautifully. D is the best answer. She is demonstrating the outgroup bias, where you have less favorable interpretations of the other group, the thems. Homogeneity means the same. So she also has like that stereotypical same perception of all math majors. You guys are awesome. Number 19, ethnocentrism, which remember is only being able to look at the world through your own cultural or ethnic lens, therefore thinking, at least subconsciously, that your culture is the best one. Ethnocentrism is described in which scenario? You guys are quite fast readers. Yep. It's Martin. Martin distrusts a certain religion and assumes it's not as good as his own because it is uncommon and not the same as in the country from which he lives or in which he lives. Number 20. The factors chiefly responsible for interpersonal attraction include what? You guys are awesome. There were 3 factors. A has 2 of the 3 listed in it. You guys rock. Proximity and similarity. We like people who are like ourselves and those that we can see often. We also like pretty people. That's the 3rd factor. I do like you, but I can't play with you right now. Number 21. I don't know if you guys have realized that as I'm going through the questions, as Amy Terch, the student, I tend to underline or circle what it is from the question that I'm looking for, especially when the prompts have a lot of detail written in them. That way I can look up and remember exactly what I'm looking for when I'm reading the options. Also, Amy Terch, the student, tends to look at these time waster questions like 21, where you're interpreting a lot of information to answer one question. And I tend to circle them and then just come back to them. As you're going through a timed test, it's always best to keep your flow going by answering the ones that you can answer quickly and correctly first. And then these go back to that when you've got some more time and you've got, the pressure of time off your back, then go back and answer these time waster ones. This is a nice thing about doing the paper and pencil test is we can do that. The digital version, you can't. So we've got a situation here where we're interpreting data, visual data, which the College Board loves. So before a group discussion, each of the individual within the group tends to have more moderate beliefs, meaning more middle road. After talking to polarized or extreme groups, we do find that the strength of opinions of the members then also become more polarized or extreme. What's it called? That after talking to groups, we become more extremist in our viewpoints. And I think I used the word 15 times. You guys picked up on that. Polarized means extreme, like North and South Pole, right? So this is an example of E group polarization. Number 22. Which of the following scenarios best represents the frustration aggression principle? Now, remember, it has to have both of those components in it. You have frustration at being blocked from some goal that you're trying or you want. And then from that being blocked or frustration, you then get angry and or aggressive. So it has to have both of those components. So who in there is being blocked from some goal and then shows aggression? So D in this example is the best response. Some of you got it. I'm glad we're doing this so I can point these things out. So Jeremy is stuck in traffic. So his goal of getting to where he wants to go is being blocked. So he's frustrated. Therefore, Jeremy punches the steering wheel. That's frustration, aggression. Charles bullying somebody because it makes him feel superior. He's not being blocked from some goal, so he's not experiencing the frustration apart. So it's not frustration, aggression. Wendy imitates her brother and pushes another child on the playground. That's social learning. That's that modeling we see with aggression. That's not frustration. She's not being blocked from some goal. So make sure when you're identifying frustration, aggression, you've got the frustration component, being blocked from some goal, which makes us angry and it makes us act out aggressively. Layla saw a man treat a passerby rudely. Shortly after that, she saw him slip and fall on the ground. She immediately thought, what a clumsy man, without acknowledging the fact that he had walked onto a patch of ice. Layla is demonstrating the fundamental attribution error because, remember, this has to do with blaming a behavior on somebody's personality or disposition. So, which one do we see blaming of a specific behavior on somebody's personality or disposition? You guys got it. This is a harder one. With fundamental attribution error, this is where we blame a behavior on somebody's personality or disposition. All these questions I get from previous College Board exams. I like you guys to be very exposed to them so you know how to like interpret their weird wording. I didn't like A. A actually felt almost true as well, but we don't see her applying this personality or disposition to the behavior. It has to be the behavior we saw is blamed on their personality or disposition. Well played, my brothers and sisters. Well played. You were tricked by the tricky College Board wording. I'm proud of you. We got George. He sits next to Kiki in biology class every day. They often work together on assignments. So by the end of the semester, George has become quite fond of Kiki. Which social psych phenomenon best explains George's attraction to Kiki? Where we see somebody often and that increases our liking of them. You got it. The mere exposure effect is why proximity is our first factor of attraction. The more we see something, the more we like it. That's mere exposure. Got another one of those time waster questions here. I would skip it in a normal testing situation, then come back to it when I have more time and breathing room to spend the time on it. So this is a visual data set interpreting Solomon Ash's line conformity study. So would you conform to the wrong answer if the group did? You bet your ass you would. So at the bottom, we've got the size of the group that all picked the same wrong answer. And then on the left side, we have the trials in which people would conform to the same wrong answer. So we see with a group of 1, the conformity strength was very weak. Group of 2, the conformity strength was very weak. Group of 3, that conformity strength got really strong. And by the time we get to a group of 4, that is the maximum strength of conformity. No matter how big the group gets after 4, we don't see too much more conformity happening. So which one of those phrases is the correct interpretation? See, when you have time to go through it and like break it down, it's easier to figure out, which again is why I save these for the end when you have some breathing room and the time to take the time on it. So yes, you guys are very brilliant. D, conformity increases as the group size increases to about 4 persons. So this is the best answer. Number 26. Which of the following terms is used to describe the process by which important group decisions may be distorted or not the best because different viewpoints are not encouraged? And we all just want to go with the flow. We don't want to make waves in this group situation. So again, this isn't the same as de-individuation. I don't lose myself in the group. Amy Terich is still Amy Terich, thinking the decision on the inside, I'm thinking the decision is not a good one. On the outside, I feel this pressure of everyone else agreeing, and I don't want to make waves, so I just conform to this oppressive groupthink mentality where I'm not going to speak out my different opinions. So this is groupthink. Remember, social loafing is where, as an individual, I'll do work on a project, but when I'm in a group, sometimes a person in that group lets everyone else do the work and they just kind of sit back and do nothing. So social loafing is where you exert less effort and you just let the group go ahead. Groupthink, you're paying attention, you're doing stuff. It's just on the inside. You just don't want to share because you feel this oppressive need to just not make waves in this group. And again, the best way to break it up, have one person dissent, one person be that devil's advocate, and it breaks the seal and everybody wants to share their ideas. It's always that power of the individual, that one person that breaks up all those group stuff. After discussing a topic, a group makes a decision that is way more extreme than the average position of the members prior to this discussion. What is this an example of? We've already gone over it, but we went over it visually. So I wanted to make sure you also understood like its definition. What's it called? That my moderate ideas get way more extreme after talking to the group. Yeah, baby. You guys rock. This one is also group polarization. Think like the North and the South poles, very opposite extreme. Number 28. In a study conducted by Phil Zimbardo, female college students were asked to shock other students. Half of the female students each wore a hood and a lab coat to hide their identity. The other half each wore their own clothes and a large name tag. The results indicated that the hooded students would deliver twice as many shocks as the other students. The results of this study indicate that an important contributor to de-individuation or losing your sense of self in a situation is what? Oh, you guys are quick. Bing, 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 bing. I love seeing it pop up in the chat. Anonymity, baby. This isn't groupthink. This is I lose myself in the situation. And one of the easiest ways to lose Amy Terich is to not be Amy Terich in that situation. So dressing up in costume, being an internet troll, assigned a prison guard role, being in a sports mob where everybody's going insane. These are all factors of de-individuation. And it all ties in with that anonymity. You guys are doing fabuloso. Number 29, holding a predetermined belief about a group of people, regardless of the personal qualities of each individual within that group, is called what? Oh, yeah. That is stereotyping. Remember, stereotyping is a preconceived belief. Prejudice is a negative judgment of belief, so it's still a thought. Discrimination is the actual action. So there's like levels. Come on, baby. Number 30, according to Milgram's study, so that shock study, individuals are most likely to obey when the demands are made by whom? Remember, Milgram's shock study. Whoa, wrong one. Oh, you guys are good. His was all focusing on the conforming to the authority. So I will conform to the demands of authority figure. Now, you'd probably find that if that authority figure was more attractive, we'd probably do it more then too. But Milgram's study was on obedience to authority. Of the following students, who is most clearly demonstrating an internal dispositional attribution? So assumptions based on internal or my dispositional strengths. Hey, girl one, can you please bring this to Yanni so he can do his speech therapy Zoom? Sorry, guys. This is Martin. It's Martin. He is saying that he earned the spot because of his hard work. Speech meeting. I don't know why it keeps going to Schoology. Oh. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Sorry, guys. My boy's got speech therapy. All right, don't be Jackie. When Jackie works on a project alone, she puts in a lot of effort and meets deadlines. However, when she works on a project in a group, she slacks. She's rarely attending the meeting. She always misses the deadline when submitting her part of the project. Jackie's behavior is best explained by what? You got it. This one is classic social loafing. Some people don't exert as much individual effort if they can put that on the group. You guys are fabulous. You're doing really well. Number 33. When Jeremy hears that the neighbor's house has been robbed, he argues that the neighbor deserved it because he leaves his expensive electronics out where people can see them. Jeremy's belief is best explained by which of the following cognitive attributional biases? What's the one where we victim blame? Where we want to believe the world is a fair and just place, so we tend to blame the victims because ultimately we want to believe that we couldn't fall victim to the same thing because we don't do that behavior. You got it. This is one of those attributional errors where we assume the victim did something to bring that fate upon themselves. This is the just world bias or the just world hypothesis. Ultimately, because it gives us the illusion that we aren't vulnerable to that same fate because I don't leave my expensive stuff out where people can see it. It's sad, but we do this victim blaming quite a bit. Number 34 is exactly the same question, except now the just world hypothesis is option A. I make mistakes sometimes too. Number 35. Jim is better at computer games when his friends are watching him than he is when he plays alone. Researchers explain Jim's behavior using which of the following theories? If it's something I feel comfortable doing or I'm good at, I thrive off the energy of a group. I do better because they're there. Yeah, Evan. Super quick, Mackenzie. Olivia, you rock. You guys are all doing so well. You probably didn't need me too much with this. YHS land, you guys rock. This is classic social facilitation. Number 36. Well, there you go. The just world hypothesis would best explain which of the following phenomena? You got it. All of you for the win. We blame victims. Stinks. Number 37. In Stanley Milgram's classic shock study, a participant was placed in one room and a Confederate was placed in another room where the participant could not see the Confederate. Participants were told to shock the Confederate when the Confederate answered a question incorrectly. What was a major ethical violation of Milgram's study? Oh, so fast, YHS land. Like super fast. You guys' participation is off the charts. I so appreciate this. So, Milgram's study is known as the most unethical social psych experiment because one of the major ethical rules of volunteers in any sort of research study is they have to be allowed to leave whenever they want. However, every single person in this study wanted to leave before they got to the 450. They said, I can't do this. I cannot do this. I don't want to do this anymore. And the authority figure said, it is imperative that you continue. And then they said, you must continue. That's unethical. If somebody wants to leave, you have to let them leave. So C is the best response of this unethical list of stuffs. Zimbardo's was pretty unethical, especially after people started having those mental breakdowns on day 2 and leaving the study. But at least he canceled his 5 or 6 days in whereas Milgram never canceled his. He let everybody kill people, at least in their heads. 38. How many people killed the people? How many of the participants in Stanley Milgram's experiment went to the highest voltage of shock? Yep. The actual statistic was about 2/3 of the participants. So they said approximately, so they're approximating, but it was actually about 65, 66% of the participants would give the death shock, the highest voltage. So D, 60-ish. 39. Which scenario best illustrates the concept of modeling aggression? This is social learning on aggression. That's what modeling is. We watch the behavior that's modeled for us and we copy it. Modeling is social learning. You guys are very brilliant. Dane, who is 3 years old, watches a video of a kid throwing a truck against the wall. The next time he plays with his truck, he throws it against the wall. We're fairly monkey see, monkey do, especially as little kids. According to Sharif's Roberts Cave study, one way to reduce the intergroup conflict was to establish what? What makes them mutually interdependent on each other so they have to come together? Yes. Yes. So quick. Give them superordinate goals. We have to work together to move this tree, boys. And they did. 41. According to research on attraction, people are most likely to be attracted to others who are YHS land. You guys are quick for a coordinated group, man. Look at it, y'all. Similar to themselves, we find it very rewarding to be with people who are like ourselves because it's validating. So it ties in with being rewarded for just being you. So we like people who are similar to ourselves. The matching hypothesis. When watching the Olympics, most people cheer for athletes from their own countries. Often fans believe that athletes from other countries will cheat, but athletes from their own country would never cheat. This is an example of what psychological concept, where we tend to favor our own group more preferably. You got it. This is the in-group bias, the us versus them, and we always prefer the us's. Brilliant. 43. People who find themselves engaging in behavior that is against their own principles will most likely experience what? When I have behaviors that go against my own values and attitudes, what do I feel? What do we call that contradiction? Oh, you guys rock. So good. So good. You guys are fabulous. This is cognitive dissonance. When we have this contradiction, like I hold two thoughts that are inconsistent, or I have a thought and then my behavior that are inconsistent or contradictory, we have tension. We call that dissonance. We don't like it. And then we start to rationalize why we did the thing. We'll change our attitude. Which of the following is the independent variable in Phil Zimbardo's classic Stanford prison experiment? College Board loves research design. They will ask many questions about it. Independent variable is the one we manipulate. It's the one we test. So what was he changing in his subjects? What were the two groups? Oh, YHS lands so fast. The independent variable is whether they were assigned the role of prisoner or guard. The dependent variables are the outcome variables. So the dependent variables would be the behaviors. What happened is the dependent. You got it. 45. It belongs to human nature to hate those that you have injured. This belief is best explained by what? This rationalization. If I've hurt somebody, I'll change my attitude that they are somebody I didn't like anyways. What do we call this? Oh, it's so quick. This is a hard one too. You have to go through a couple different levels of contemplation. If I have dissonance or contradiction between my behaviors and my beliefs, I will often change my belief or my attitude. So if I've hurt somebody, I will tell myself I did not like them in the first place. So it belongs to human nature to hate those you have injured, ties in with cognitive dissonance theory, where we try to reduce that dissonance. We reduce that contradiction tension by telling ourselves we didn't like them anyways. 46. Research on physical attractiveness has shown that what? All right, Just Land, you guys are quick. You've been quick these last few questions, man. Yes, 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 everybody. We assume that prettier people are happier, healthier, more successful than our more unfortunate looking counterparts. This is the halo effect. We like pretty people. It's also called sometimes the beauty bias. The results of Stanley Milgram's studies on obedience suggested what? Oh, yes, Olivia. Olivia's. You guys are super quick on this one. He found that D, most people will obey an authority figure's instructions to harm others. I think some of you just skimmed over the word not. Physically harm. Most people will physically harm others if an authority figure tells them to, which stinks. It's the dark side of obedience. 48. Which of the following is the best example of scapegoating? It's playing the blame game on an entire group of people. Nazi Germany did this to the Jewish population. You guys rock. Don't be Ryan. Don't be a scapegoater. Ryan, who is a member of one racial group, does not get into the college he wants to attend. Even though his application was weak, he blames the members of another racial group for his rejection because they have taken up all the available admission slots. It's classic scapegoating. You guys are doing well, very well. Doing great, doing great. According to social learning theory, aggression is a result of which of the following? We showed this social learning in the Mask You Live In clip, where kids who are shown violence in video games and TV have more aggressive behaviors. You got it, Evan. Super quick. Yup, YHS land for the win. This is again modeling. If aggressive behavior is modeled for us in family, in TV, in our community, in our schools, we tend to have aggressive behaviors ourselves. especially little kids who have it modeled for them. The researchers who conducted the Stanford prison simulation believed that the participants designated as guards acted harshly to those designated as prisoners because of the what? What were they testing in this? Oh, yeah, so quick. Oh, Isaac, you guys rock. The guards responded to situational factors. The whole thing is all about the situation has a power to change people. It was a situation where they had ambiguous rules and they weren't told what to do with their roles. So they had to come up with their own definitions of what their roles were. You guys are brilliant. See, you're already psychologists. Number 51. Which of the following studies in the field of social psychology met with the greatest criticism about ethical issues involved? Yepper, YHS land. Yes, Olivia, Isaac, you guys are brilliant. That's Stanley Milgram. Even if Zimbardo was up there, Stanley would still be the most unethical, although Zimbardo was close. When a person experiences two thoughts that are incompatible, psychological tension may be produced, leading to an attempt to reconcile the discrepant thoughts. Which of the following concepts by Leon Festinger best characterizes this response? They love in College Board land to use big words. Two thoughts that are incompatible, producing tension, where we try to reconcile these discrepant thoughts, these contradictory thoughts. What is that called? Mackenzie for the win. This is a bigger word synonym version of cognitive dissonance. When we have thoughts that are contradictory or incompatible, it produces tension, where we try to reduce or reconcile that contradiction of these two thoughts. That's cognitive dissonance. And I'll almost always change my attitude because it's easier. Cheating is wrong, except for when I had to work the night before and the teacher didn't teach it well, in which case I really had no choice. That's cognitive dissonance reduction. 53. According to research on interpersonal perception, the formation of friendships and relationships is associated with which of the following? 1, physical attractiveness, the halo effect. 2, physical proximity, the mere exposure effect. And or 3, attributions of similarity, mirror image, or matching effect concepts. College Board loves these types of questions too. Remember, there are 3 ingredients to interpersonal attraction. Yeah, YHS land, it's E. All 3 of those are factors of interpersonal attraction. Strongest is proximity. Number 54. Which of the following is not a method for reducing dissonance that a person might experience after refusing to contribute money for a gift to a coworker? Remember, we rationalize. We're not really honest with ourselves. We rationalize why we did that thing that we don't agree with. So which one of those is not rationalizing? Oh, yeah, YHS land. We're generally not super honest with ourselves, saying, I am so rude over and over. We rationalize, which means coming up with a variety of excuses as to why we did that thing. So this really, A, is not an example of that rationalizing that we use to reduce dissonance. '55, which of the following was true of Solomon Ash's experiments on conformity? We would conform to the wrong answer, but only when what? Olivia for the win, Mr. Sister. Only if the Confederates or the people who were plants in the study all guessed anonymous. I'm sorry, not anonymous, unanimous. They had to be unanimous, all agreeing on the same wrong answer for people to conform to the wrong answer. Otherwise, the conformity was super decreased. Which of the following concepts was advanced by social psychologists to explain why people who are part of a crowd sometimes commit aggressive, antisocial acts that they would not commit if they were alone? What's the one where we lose ourselves in a crowd or situation? You got it. Oh my gosh, so fast. You guys rock. Classic de-individuation, which again is not the same thing as groupthink. You lose your individuality in de-individuation. I am no longer Amy. I am now part of this mob. I will now go into a mosh pit and throw elbows. I would never do that in real life. So we're going to watch a Friends clip where Joey joins a candy mob. In this, we're seeing classic groupthink, conformity, obedience, or de-individuation. And you really got to play it to the end to really get this.
We're waiting for the candy. Bring out the candy! Yeah, man, candy! Joey, what's up, buddy? What are you doing? Bringing candy. Here. Hey, and you cannot smoke in here. Merry Christmas. This woman was trying to do a nice thing for you, and look at her. She's a mess. She's got bad circles on her top, she's skills. She's making candy, so she tried to get it out. Tell me on that. Did you smoke? No. Smoke's not lean when smoke directly into my mouth.
So he's friends with these people, and he joined in the mob that was writing threatening notes. What did happen? What did happen? What happened with Joey? This one is de-individuation. He lost himself in a mob. He was no longer her friend. He was hell-bent on getting candy with the other mobsters. Now we're in the office where Stanley is not putting forth effort while the rest of the group works. What is it called? He doesn't work because everyone else is. I love The Office. I miss it on Netflix. You guys are right. That one is social loafing. Stanley is a social loafer. Oh, Stanley. I still heart you. Number 59. This one, the word wrapping didn't work so well. In this Friends clip, Joey just nods and laughs along with his friends when they do, even though he doesn't understand what they're talking about. When one is conforming to the behaviors of the group, just because you want the group to like you, it is called normative social influence. When you conform to the information they're sharing and just accept it as truth, that's informational social influence. And I'm sorry, we're kind of running low on time, so Joey's doing both. Joey's doing both here. He's conforming to gain acceptance, and he's conforming to the information being shared. So he is D, both informational and normative. We got Mean Girls over here. We had talked factors of conformity, things that make it more likely that we will conform to a group. So we're going to watch this little clip and you determine all of the factors that strengthen conformity. Is somebody, or are they talking about being made to feel incompetent? That the group is at least 3 people, the group is admired and respected, and the group is anonymous or de-individuated. You will mark all of the answers. So, what factors are being strengthened in the conformity? Is one being made to feel incompetent? Yeah. You might like somebody, but the group tells you you're wrong. Is a group at least 3 people? Yep. Is a group admired and respected? Yep. Is a group anonymous or de-individuated? No. So we've got these 3 factors at play. You could probably apply every single concept of social psych to the movie Mean Girls. In the same Mean Girls clip, the plastics start going over the rules for being part of their social group. Katie, who's a new student from South Africa, begins the process of this, where her own ideals and beliefs about acceptable behavior become way more extreme after repeated talking to this group. So, what's it called? Where the individual's ideals become way more extreme because of talking to this group. You guys are brilliant. She gets super polarized because of this group influence. And then in that same clip, the plastics sell themselves as the superior elite group in comparison to the school's art freaks group. This is an example of what? Where we perceive ourselves with a more favorable bias. Yeah. That is the in-group bias. And then remember, our college board exam is 100 multiple choice questions and then 2 FRQ essays. One of the FRQ essays will always be based on research or experimentation, and the other is a situation in which you have to apply 8 different psych terms. So we've got an example of that. This is a previous college board exam question. You will just be choosing which response is an accurate sentence for each term. So we've got the situation of Ellie. She's a new student at Skinner High School. She's determined to make new friends. When she attends the first Psych Club meeting, she finds herself in the room with 20 strangers who all know each other well. She plans to attend a few more meetings before deciding whether she will join. The first 4 terms is you have to demonstrate how each of the following could help Ellie in her quest to make friends. You can use a different example for each concept. You cannot just write definitions of these terms. You will get no points if you just write definitions. You should define, but most importantly, apply each term. You don't get points for a definition, but if you have a weak application, but a solid definition, sometimes they'll Jones you the points. They'll give you the points. So how does the mere exposure effect help her make friends? A, additional exposure of club members to Ellie leads to more liking. Or B, Ellie goes to more meetings, the other kids will know her better. Which of those is a mere exposure effect helping her make friends? A or B? You got it, my brother. This is showing that if she is exposed to these members more, she'll like them more. B shows her being exposed to more, but it doesn't say they will like her more or she will like them more. It has to have that liking component tacked onto it. Well done, Isaac. Well done. The second term is mnemonic device. Woo. How can using mnemonic devices help her make friends? A, Ellie develops rhyming words to help remember club members' names. Or B, Ellie can use the method of loci or acronyms. A or B? Don't burn out now, y'all. We're almost done. We can do it. So remember, we have to apply this to how it could help her make friends. It has to have that aspect to it. So while both of them do talk about mnemonic devices, the first one only has reference to help her make friends. So even though both are technically correct, only the first one would get you points. You have to apply it specifically to what they want you to apply it to. They are so ridiculously picky, you guys. You guys are awesome. The third term you are to apply to helping is the Schachter two-factor theory of emotion. This was the theory of emotion that we have a situation that causes first a biological response in us, but also we individually interpret or label that biological response in that situation. So Ellie saw a boy at the meeting. She became nervous and then labeled him as cute. Or B, Ellie's heart rate increases when she enters the room and she labels that as excitement about being with the new group. Which one is specific application to how it will help her make new friends? You guys rock. That one was quick. While the first one is a true application of Schachter factor, it does not say how labeling a boy as cute is going to help her. This one, it focuses on how this is a positive emotion that could help her. Last term is locus of control. This is our focus on who has control in our lives. Internally, myself, or externally, fate, circumstance, God, whatever from the outside. So how can a locus of control help? A, Ellie has an internal locus of control. She can make friends by approaching people and making the first move. Or B, Ellie is motivated to go to meetings. You guys are super quick with that one. A is the best response, even though B is a proper example of a locus of control. It doesn't explain how it can help her make friends. Do you see? You catching like how picky they are? It can't just be correct. It also has to be an accurate reflection of the situation they want you to reflect. So the second four terms of this same FRQ prompt is how these four terms can hinder her in making friends. Hinder means hurt or harm. So how can the in-group bias harm her chances of making friends? Ellie has also joined the drama club, and those students look down on the psych club. Or B, the club has an idea they all agree with, and if Ellie doesn't agree, it could stop her from making friends. A or B? I'm glad we're going over this. So A shows two different groups. There has to be an out group and an in group for us to understand the in group bias. Here, we just kind of have group think or conformity going on, but it's not in group versus out group because we don't talk about any other group. So it has to be A. They're so picky, you guys. And if you don't know what one of those terms mean, you make it up. BS it. They don't take away points for a wrong answer. You just might not get the right one, but sometimes you guess and win. How can regression hurt her? A, Ellie wants to go back to last year at her old school where she was more comfortable. Or B, the stress of the new school year makes Ellie anxious, so she begins to suck her thumb or cry or throw tantrums, and this behavior turns off the members of the club. 5 minutes to go. We got this. Now, regression is where you revert to a previous stage in development. Regression is defined as going to a previous stage in development. Last year was not a previous stage in development. She was still an adolescent. So this has to be B. They are so picky. And it kind of sucks because obviously this student knew what they were talking about, but they are very strict on the interpretation of these terms. 69, man. We got two more. Operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is associations made by unpleasant or pleasant consequences. It is changing behavior or learning due to pleasant or unpleasant consequences. So Ellie is conditioned to associate an unfortunate event with the clubs, or Ellie finds the club so painfully boring that she begins to go home after school instead. B is a better use of this punishing sort of situation that causes her to learn to not go to that club. A conditioned association could also be classical conditioning, where it is an unconscious association. We don't know. So this one, the top one could be operant, or it could be classical conditioning. So the only one we know for a fact is operant is B. And then we're on the last one, yo diggity yo. Because you guys are such awesome students, we're not rushing this one. Circadian rhythms are our biological patterns within a 24-hour time period. So awake and sleep schedules that are our patterns. So Ellie stays up late studying and is grumpy at the next meeting, or Ellie's overall energy level is low in the afternoon when meetings occur. Mackenzie, you were so quick on that one. B is the one that shows a rhythm or a pattern of her biological processes. A only shows that she was up one night studying. That's not a rhythm. That's one night she was up late. So I'm not going to hit submit because I don't want my score to mess up my results, my data to see how people do or did. But make sure you hit submit so you don't lose all this work. You just done really good on a summative test that was worth 70 points, so you done good. Our next class period together is an asynchronous work day because tomorrow morning is SATs for juniors. So make sure that you're caught up with all the assessments. Make sure that you go ahead and check that semester 2 assessment list I've messaged you. And then I sent you AP exam review stuff that actually starts tonight on Instagram and Twitter. So you guys have a great day. Thanks for playing my reindeer game.